What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for Power Book 2 Ghost Season 2, Episode 4. The episode was titled Getting These Ends. Now, you guys, before we get into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and are not yet subscribed to the channel, I'm gonna need you guys to do me a huge favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. Do me that solid favor by liking the video, sharing the video, turning on your notification bells, and with that out the way, you guys, let's go ahead and discuss Power Book 2 Ghost. That is the first time this season that I've got that right. I've been wanting to say Power Book 3. All right, you guys. So, the episode. Let's see. You know what? We'll start out with Carrie, right? So, we saw Carrie in this episode. So, she's at this, I don't know where the hell she was, right? But it was dark wherever she was. And she was by herself. So, she's texting Zeke, trying to see where Zeke is. And she hears a noise. Zeke, is that you? So she gets back in the car and boom, the back window is knocked out. Bitch, didn't I tell you to stop texting my motherfucking nephew? I was like, damn, Monet. She says, she asked, do you know anything about, she asked her, did she kill that professor nigga? She says, no, she didn't, and that Zeke was with her. And she says Zeke lied to the cops to protect her. Okay, she says, well, now, bitch, you finna protect him. So what you finna do is you finna find out who killed Jabari. I was like, baby, in this episode, Monet was just flexing her muscles. I'm like, okay, Monet, like, girl, I'm afraid of you. So then we see Carrie, right? So she's going to meet with the dean, and we see Kevin there, right? And then we see Rashad, and we see Simon there. So the dean tells Carrie that Rashad is going to be replacing her. And then Kevin is like, well, this seems like an internal matter, so this ain't got nothing to do with me. Simon says, contrary corn fritter, it does have something to do with you because you're doing an investigation into our star player, and we need you to stop. Actually, we need to know why you're looking into him, right? So Kevin says, at this point, I'm not at liberty to discuss that, but he does have a motive. So then Carrie talks about the fact about the GTG, boy that was found in the pool dead, right? And then she said she read Jabari's journal and it talked about a drug pipeline there, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So after the meeting with the dean, Kevin, Simon, and all of them, Tate talks to Carrie, right? So Tate tells Carrie, like, hey, girlfriend, overheard the conversation that you and Kevin were having, in your office, right? So you're the connective tissue between Jabari and Zeke. So then she says, so you will sit back and you'll let an innocent black man be railroaded? That'll be good, that to help you win a governor's race. That'll help you if you get him off. I'm like, oh, okay, Carrie. Okay. Y'all know I don't like Carrie. So we're gonna move forward, you guys. Let's see, where do we want to go next? Because this episode was hella good. I mean, it was so good. Every minute of it was amazing to me. Let's talk about Tariq real quick, right? So we see Tariq, right? So you guys remember that in the last episode, Tariq gave Yasmin that phone, right? And told her to call him anytime, right? So she calls him. She asks him, Tariq, when are you going to come and get me? He says, I'll come and get you soon, right? So then we see Tariq and he's meeting with Warren, you guys, the lawyer that Ghost had, right? So Tariq is finding out what Big Mama has been up to. So Big Mama has been out spending Yasmin's money at the liquor store. And so now Tariq wants to take Big Mama to court to get custody of Yasmin. I'm like, really, Tariq? Okay. Now there is one scene that is down at the bottom of my notes, and I'm already going to talk about it. Tariq and Lauren, they walked into the classroom, hands locked, right? And that's when, so Carrie and Tate were telling them how they read their essays, right? How they liked theirs. And Tate really wasn't too fond of Tariq's essay. Don't know why, don't care either. But hey, we're going to move forward, right? So then we see Tariq. He's in his room later in this episode. He has his tablet in his hand. So he reached out to the liquor store that Big Mama had went to get alcohol. And he has a surveillance footage of it. So you see Big Mama, she's behind the alcohol by the case. I'm like, God damn, Big Mama. But you know what? Big Mama been through a lot of shit, so we ain't even finna sit here and knock Big Mama, because Big Mama has been through a lot. Like, let's not sit here and play like Big Mama ain't been through some shit with this goddamn family. Like, let's not play games with that one, right? So Braden comes into the room, right? And, you know, Tariq was like, where you been? He's like, oh, he been with one of his girls, right? And he says, you know, since you staying with Lauren, since you and Lauren are official, you know, Lauren can't really know about our business. And Tariq was like, nah, you ain't got to worry about that. Lauren won't know about our business, right? So then Braden, he got a text from Kane about them going to hit a lick, right? So we'll talk about Braden and Kane a little bit later, right? So I'm gonna pause that right there, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. You guys remind me to talk about that. Remind me to talk about Braden and Kane. Child, I hope I remember. Telling y'all to remind me shit. I hope I fucking remember. So we see Big Mama. So Big Mama went over to Tariq James St. Patrick, you open this door right now, right? So she comes in, she's like, my grandson, the local thug, is taking me to court for custody, right? She says, I will die before you take her from me. After all the shit that you done, Raina would be disappointed. And in that moment, when Big Mama said that, I was like, you know what, Big Mama? You may be an alcoholic and you may have shook little Yasmin, but Tariq, you have no reason or right to raise this little girl. Let's go down the list of shit that Tariq has done, right? Raina is dead because of Tariq's bullshit with Kanan, right? And Jukebox. Remember that? You killed your daddy. Your mama's in witness protection because of you. So Tariq, yeah, Big Mama was right. Little nigga, you ain't got no room to do because everything bad that has happened to this family is solely on your back. I was like, you know what, Big Mama? I'm on your side. I am 1000% on your SIDE. So let's move forward, you guys. Child Monet. Like I keep saying, you guys, Monet in this episode, bad. She was just shaking niggas left and right. So we see Monet. So Monet is down at the bar, right? Davis comes down and, you know, Monet wants to retain Davis for his services. And she asks him how much is he gonna cost. Davis tells her it's gonna be $1 million. She says, nigga, you gotta be playing with me. He says, no, we can do this, we can do that, da 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 da. He runs down the list of things that he goes. So Monet was like, okay, cool. Monet goes to the safe looking for some money in the safe. Only thing in that safe is a gun. Ain't no money in that safe the first. So Davis, she's like, you know what? I don't have it right now, but I can get it. She says, okay, I'm gonna give you 3 days to give me that $1 million, right? So then after that, we see Monet flexing them muscles. The contractor dude, Monet got her foot on his head, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that I see an ear on the side of him. She's like, where my money at, nigga? He's like, I ain't got your money. She's like, you been in and out of that place. Don't with me. And then Monet shot the man. I'm like, Monet, I actually don't believe that the man took that money from you. I think it's one of your kids. So let's move over to the kids, right? So she gets back to the house. Any of you little motherfuckers took that money from the safe? Nah, we don't know nothing about that. Like, what you talking about? Everyone said that with the exception of Diana. I'm like, oh, you the one that took that money. Your mama gonna beat the brakes off of your ass when she finds out, right? So Monet tells, my bad, you guys, battery's going low. So Monet tells them, okay, we got 3 days to get $1 million so that Davis can take on Zeke's case. No, auntie, you don't have to do that for me. So you really don't, but you fucked it up for everybody. So then Monet takes Diana and Kane with her, right? She said, Diana, Kane, y'all with me today. Get y'all asses up and let's go. Drew, you stay here with this dumb nigga. Why I gotta do that? I felt bad for Drew, right? I really did feel bad for Drew. You gotta babysit this dumbass. So when Diana, Monet, and Kane were about to leave, right? Diana is sitting here texting Davis about the money. Can she get it? Can she get it sent back to her, transferred back to her? He tells her, absolutely not. The wheels are already in motion, right? So then we see Kane. So Kane, he's meeting with Dante, right? And he's telling Dante, like right now we got a personal emergency in the family. It's Zeke, right? And he's telling him we got 3 days to come up with the $1 million. So Dante tells Kane, okay, well, there's this new guy that's trying to move in on my territory, right? And he got a lot of money. So what I want that money. And he says anything over 50,000, you can keep that and give it to your cousin, right? So then we see Caden and Braden, right? Kane is with Braden, right? So you guys remember, I told you that Kane had texted Braden about hitting a lick, right? So they went to a jewelry store at one point in the episode, and they were smashing and taking all the shit out the jewelry store, right? Then at one point in the episode, we saw Kane and Braden as they pulled up to like a stash house, I guess. Kane went in, this one nigga came up to the car. He was like, who you know over here, talking to Braden? He was like, I know Ronnie, Ricky, and Bobby, he says Bobby, Ricky, Ronnie, and Mike, right? The homies. So then you hear gunshots going out, and then you hear something fly out the window, right? Then we see Kane come out the door. Kane starts pop, pop, pop that dude, and then he get in the car with Braden. The dudes come out the apartment. They sprayed the hell out of Braden's car. That car had bullet holes all through it. Right? So then we see Monet. So Monet went to see Lorenzo, right? And she's telling Lorenzo, like, hey, Lorenzo, I need $1 million, right? And what I need you to do, I need your signature on here so we can, mortgage the house. And Lorenzo was like, no. I know you want to protect your nephew, but no. Remember what we went through with my legal situation? Absolutely not. He says, how about you take the money from the bar? She's like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'm wondering why she didn't tell Lorenzo that the money at the bar is not at the bar, but okay. So then we see Zeke. He's talking to that dumbass Drew about this situation because on the television, we see Jamel Hill, and she's talking about, how Sansfield is going to, still perform well without Zeke, right? Now, meanwhile, Drew and Zeke are talking. Drew is texting his boyfriend, Ever, which I did not know that they were in a relationship with each other, right? Child, then the next thing we see, because Drew got up and left, we see him. I thought it was some, I didn't know who it was that was having sex until I realized it was Drew and Everett. And Drew was on top of Everett. I'm like, oh, okay. Hey, had sex. And then at one point I realized, I'm like, oh, they are actually naked because Drew stood up to pull his drawers up, and so did Everett. I'm like, oh, y'all are really naked. Okay. So Drew is asking, Drew asked Everett in a text message for help, right? So what happened is Everett and the team, they did a protest and they started a GoFundMe. So they're going to give him the money for the GoFundMe, right? So then Everett tells Drew about you guys remember when he got questioned by Carrie and Jabari last season. Remember, he name dropped Drew, and you guys remember, that is why Jabari got popped by Kane, because he talked to Tariq about Drew and he got popped, right? So Drew got pissed off and he left. So then we move over and we see Diana and Effie, right? So Diana and Effie, so everyone in the family at this point is trying to get this $1 million so that we can get a defense for Zeke's stupid ass, right? Zeke should have just told the truth, to be honest with you, that he was with Carrie. So Diana and Effie, they out boosting, and Diana is talking about actually she's like, what your mama gonna think about you being out? She's like, girl, I need this money. She's like, for school? She's like, nah, my mom won't let me go to school. She's like, she has different rules for each one of us, including Zeke. Ooh, the end of the episode. Oh, you guys, I really want to talk about it now, but we're gonna hold off on it. Oh, we're gonna hold off on it for just a few minutes. Oh, that was, when I tell you guys this was a damn good episode, Jesus, this was a good episode. This was a good ass episode, right? So where we at, Diane? So they were talking, right? So, Effie told, Diana. Now, the reason when I was talking to you about Tariq and, about fucking him, I wasn't being on no hater shit or no shit like that. I was just telling you that to be, basically, Tariq is not trustworthy, so don't let him be your first. So then we see Drew. Drew, he got back to the crib, right? There's a reporter there talking to dumbass, and the reporter mentions Lorenzo talking about, he's a murderer, so does it run in the family. Drew went up to that reporter and said, pop, laid him out on the ground, right? So he's also at the same time getting text messages from every time about, call me, I need to talk to you, right? Don't be mad at me. Child, then we see Monet. Monet done got to the crib. Monet is laying into everybody once again because they are short $750,000. I'm like, Monet, girl. I mean, she laid into them. I'm like, damn. At least they got something. Something is better than nothing. I mean, Monet was just going off on them, right? So then, we see as, Davis comes over, right? So he's telling them that in order to get the reporter off, Zeke has to do an interview with Jemele Hill, right? And we'll talk about that in a little bit, about the interview with Jemele Hill. So Kane left at one point, right? Actually, this was after the interview, but we'll talk about the interview in just a little bit. So when Kane left out there, because they mentioned Ramirez in the interview. We'll talk about that. So when Kane left out, Monet, nigga, get out the guy, follow me to the park because we got to talk. I'm like, Monet, girl, you just really flexing these muscles in this episode. So she asked him, like, how in the hell did they find the gun, Ramirez's gun, right? So he told her everything about, Jabari saying Drew's name, him popping Jabari. Tariq is the one that took the kill shot. She was like, okay. So then she got a text message from David saying that was fast because the bill is paid, right? So then we see Dante. So Dante calls Kane, right, about working together. And Monet told Kane, nigga, you better go dig up that body. You got to do something because we can't let him go down for something that he didn't do, right? So he's telling him, hey, I got to go do something for my family. And after this, I got to leave. And Dante was like, well, don't you have a fail-safe? So then we see Drew. Drew went back to Everett's room, right? I'm going to keep it with you guys. The relationship between them two, annoying at that point. So we're going to move on. Then we see Monet. She went to go see Dante, right? Monet put two and two together that, did she put it together? Yes, she did. No, she didn't. Did she? Suffice it to say, Dante is the one, I didn't mean to spit. Dante is the one that paid that $1 million. Now, y'all, Dante paid that $1 million because guess what? Child, Monet and Dante are Zeke's parents. I said, I'd be goddamn. I didn't see that shit coming. Now y'all remember, I think I said in the last week's review, I knew that Monet and Dante had a child. I would have put money on it that it was Kane. Mic drop. They just did it to me. Took me out. So then we see Kane and Braden. So they are going to pick up Ramirez's decomposing body. Good God of hell, they found his body. So then we see Kane and Braden, they went back to the room. Braden threw up, I don't blame him. So what Kane did was he planted Ramirez's badge in their room. I'm like, ooh, that's actually a good plan. But how will it work? How would that work? I'm trying to figure that part out. So we're gonna move on, you guys, and we're gonna wrap the episode up. So we saw Tariq earlier in the episode, right? So he went to Davis and he was looking for help with Zeke, with the Zeke situation. And at that time, Monet was still not looking for a lawyer, right? So then Saxe asked Tariq, why is Zeke your problem and what happens if he gets arrested? Tariq says, don't worry about that, right? And he says, and don't ask me how I know this, but he said that the NYPD officer's gun was found at the scene and it's the murder weapon, and he believes that this is a setup by the NYPD, right? So then Davis tells Saxe that he needs to use Jenny for information, right? So then we see Jenny in this episode, and she is in Kevin's office with Kamal, who is Tate's brother, right? So Kamal would be assisting him on this Jabari case, right? So Kevin tells Kamal that he's found the killer and that it's Zeke. because Zeke was sleeping with Carrie, who was involved with Jabari, and he believes that, this was a murder of passion, basically, right? So then Kamal says, but wasn't an NYPD detective's gun found at the scene? So, and this detective is missing. So how do you know for a fact that this is true, right? So Kevin says Zeke's alibi is bullshit and that, Zeke presented him with Ramirez's PBA. That still doesn't prove anything, right? So Kamal says, well, we then need to speak with Ramirez first, right? So then we see Jenny, and she's talking to Sax about the case, and I'm like, Jenny, you are really stupid to not realize that Sax is using you, but go off, right? So then she thinks that, Rashad has an agenda. Girl, of course, it's Rashad Tate we're talking about. So then Sax tells her that Kamal is her cover, and she should get on his good side, right? So he gives her the phone. She goes in away and she calls him. So when she leaves, he goes to her files. And he finds the picture of the gun. So he finds out that Tariq was right about that in the first place, right? So then we see Kamal in this episode. So Kamal, he was talking to Lauren because some drugs were found in Lauren's room, and he's questioning her about the pills, right? So Lauren tells him, like, I'm not a snitch, so you ain't gonna get shit from me. Good try, buddy. So then Carrie comes in and she's like, she's an honor student. Like, she knows nothing about that, right? So then Carrie and him, they're in the hallway talking. And we find out that Carrie was once in law enforcement. I'm like, oh, okay. So she says, if I talk to her and get her to help you, will you then drop the charges against her, right? Clean record. So she goes in and she talks to Lauren. Lauren once again tells her that these pills are not mine. Like, I don't know anything about this. So then Carrie suggests that Lauren wears a wire and talk to her friends, see what her friends know. I'm like, ooh, Lauren, girl, it was so nice knowing you. Because if Tariq or Tahadas find out that you are wearing a wire, you're good as unlived. So then we see Kamal, right? So he shows Jenny and Kevin a video of Zeke at a bodega near where Carrie lives, right? So he's like, Zeke's alibi actually does check out, right? But Kevin still doesn't believe it at this point, because now Kevin has gotten it in his head that Zeke got Ramirez to kill Jabari for him. I was like, huh? Unlived Jabari. We're gonna have to edit that out too. Jesus Christ. But now he's gone, right? So then we see Davis, right? So Davis asked Tariq, like, little nigga, what you get me involved in, right? You got me with a family that can't pay me, and then Diana, she kept hitting me up about some side shit, right? So we see them, and they're getting ready for this interview with Jemele Hill, right? So they sent Davis over a list of potential questions that she's gonna ask, right? So Tariq is gonna coach him on what to say. So then we see the interview with Jemele Hill, right? So it's going smoothly at first, right? Until Jemele then starts talking about Ramirez, which trips Zeke up, right? So Zeke was, and they were like, oh shit. And Monet was like, we got to get him out of there, right? So then at that point, he was like, oh, Ramirez was a fan. And Jemele was like, well, we have a source. And even, the cops are watching. They're like, how does she know that, right? Because we haven't released any of this information. So she says, we have a source that says that he was actually never at your games. And then we also have, a source that told us that when you were picked up, you presented the cops with his PBA card. So now it looks like you and him were working in conjunction with each other to basically unlive Jabari. And he got upset and he got pissed off. He was like, this is some bullshit. Like, I'm out of here. So he left, right? And that's when Monet went out to the car because she noticed Kane and how Kane was, looking all shifty, right? So then we see Kamal, right? So Kamal went to Kevin's office and he told him that he found something in the novel that Jabari wrote. Meanwhile, Kevin gets a phone call and they're telling him that they found Ramirez's body, right? So Ramirez has been unlived at this point for about 2 weeks, so his body is decomposing, so they can't really do facial recognition. But what they did have was the fact that, you know, his ID was on his person, so that is how they were able to identify Ramirez, right? But yeah, you guys, that was a damn good episode. I was hooked I started watching it this morning at 5 a.m. and I could not stop watching it. It was so good. But let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell button so you guys are notified when I drop anything else. Share the video, and until the next one, you guys stay safe out there. Please take care of yourselves. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.